Hello, Gen Genies. Before we get started, Rich and I want to let you in on some exciting updates for our Patreon subscribers.
Patreon is a site where listeners can pledge a small monthly amount, either $5 or $10, to support the cost of bringing you your favorite podcast.
All patrons get early access to new Cutoff Genes episodes before they're released to the public.
And along with our undying gratitude, you'll also be able to join our special patron-only Facebook group.
But the most exciting new perk is exclusive access to essays I'm writing from my upcoming memoir. And you guys can help me be editors.
New Patreon supporters will also get a shout-out on the podcast.
Rich and I enjoy bringing you the Cutoff Genes podcast and would mean so much if you would consider supporting our labor of love.
Just go to patreon.com/Cutoff Genes podcast.
Thank you all so much, my Gen Genies.
And now, on with the show.
Is your family tree a mystery? Are you fascinated by genealogy? Well, hip, hip, hooray, let's talk DNA with Julie.
The truth is in your genes.
In Cutoff Genes.
Welcome to Cutoff Genes, the podcast that helps you find your truth using nothing but DNA. I'm Julie Dixon Jackson, and I'm a genetic genealogist, henceforth known as a Gen Genie.
And I am Richard Castle, the co-host and the producer of this podcast. Hi, Julie. Long time no see. I'm saying that, folks, because I just stopped by Julie's house to drop off the T-shirt that Julie is wearing right now that you can't see. I bought her a Love Stings T-shirt, which is my musical, when I went back to Wisconsin to see my show close. Most of you probably know this, but Julie recorded a lot of the initial demos for me way back when I was writing this show. And so it was very helpful in sort of selling the show and sort of putting it across to the artistic director so they could hear what it was supposed to sound like. And
was that like 4 years ago or 3 years ago? When we first started doing the podcast, it was when we were doing that.
Yeah,
right?
I want to say I started writing it. I came up with the idea in the summer or fall of 2017, and I probably started writing the songs in 2018. So it's been 4 years ago, since we started. We did it probably over the course of a year or so. But anyway, they were very helpful, and I'm so glad to bring you a T-shirt, and you're wearing it, and I'm glad it fits.
Thank you. I love it. I love it.
It looks great.
My new favorite. It's my new favorite piece in my wardrobe. Okay, I want to start with a little housekeeping.
Okay.
First off, let's talk about our Patreon.
Oh, all right.
So it is no secret that I am technologically challenged.
Well, it's not a secret to me. I don't know if anybody else knows.
Well, I think I talk about it enough. But so the Patreon page, I do it, I run it and do as best I can. And I was just wandering around looking at things the other day and realized that there is an exit survey section.
Okay.
Meaning people that have people that are no longer patrons. And it asks them, why have you decided not to be a patron anymore? And it's anybody has a right to no longer be a patron, no big deal. And most of them say, and there's not a whole lot, but most of them say my financial situation changed, which is a perfectly legitimate reason.
Oh, yeah.
And then one person, this is my favorite, they were a patron for a day, it looks like. And I guess they listened to the podcast and changed their mind because their reason was asking listeners to get vaccinated.
That sounds like a troll to me. If they only were a patron for one day.
Oh, maybe they just wanted to make a point or something. I don't know. But I thought, I'm like, hey, more power to you. I don't need your $5,
you know what?
lady.
I would rather have no patrons at all, and I will still tell everybody, get vaccinated. It's not worth the money to walk around with a bunch of typhoid Marys.
Yeah. Typhoid Marys. Oh, gosh. Okay, but another one that was actually quite astute said that their reason was they didn't like the benefits and rewards that they received from the podcast, and the feedback was, I thought the member-only content would be audio, not writings.
Oh, see. Well.
So I've been putting blog posts up there, various blog posts up there.
Oh, good.
And I don't get a lot of feedback on it. And I don't really know who's reading it because there's not a lot of feedback on it.
Yeah.
So this is the first real feedback I've gotten on it. And I was like, well, that's legit. If you like listening to podcasts, you're more likely to be a listener than a reader anyway. I don't really like to read things. I like to listen to things.
Sure.
So here's what I'm going to do. And I've already started doing it with last week's the last podcast. I don't know if you listened to it, but I had my friend Amy guest.
Very entertaining.
Yes, I love my Amy. But we had a much longer conversation than what you heard on the podcast, because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. And we got into talking about adoption reform and what exactly adoption reform is. And it's very interesting speaking to her about it. And we've never spoken about it really before. And she's a social worker. So it was really interesting to get her perspective and for her to hear things from me that she's never heard before.
Okay.
And there was just no time to put it on the regular podcast, so I went and put it in the Patreon.
Oh, nice.
That whole conversation in the Patreon, so people could listen to that. And a lot of people know I've been wrestling with what type of content and when I'm going to tell my story, as in the story, the one that I have been avoiding telling for all these years, which you know about my legal woes.
Yes.
But I'm getting closer to wanting to speak about it because it is the impetus for this podcast in the first place. It's the reason I'm out of the fog and why I believe in adoption reform, and I want to change the way society in general listens to the adoptee experience.
Okay.
So I'm going to start telling that story from day one on just in the Patreon. I'm going to have Amy be my co-host on that. Not really a co-host, but I'm going to have conversations with Amy about it. A, because I don't like talking into the ether.
Yeah.
and B, Amy was there for most of it.
Yeah.
So, and also Amy and I have a way of naturally being light about a situation. And I think it'll be less triggering for me.
Sure. Go for it.
To be able to speak to her about it, and she can... Anyway, that's what I'm going to do.
Great.
And probably in the next couple weeks, I'm going to start doing that. So, guys, if you've been avoiding being a patron and really want to hear the story, now's the time to do it. You know, do it or don't. But if you want to really hear the story in my words with Amy, because I know a lot of you enjoyed Amy as well, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. So, no, that's great. You know, and if you're a former patron and you want to be a patron again, that'd be great. Or unless you're the one person who was upset about our vaccination request.
It wasn't even a request. It was an encouragement.
Oh, okay.
She just didn't like that idea. She just didn't agree with us. So
to quote
enough
Stalker Channing in Greece, some people are so touchy. Well, I'm excited. That'll be nice to have some new stuff up on the Patreon page.
Yeah. And also, patrons, if and when you receive your stuff, the $10 patrons get a handmade gift from me. It's usually a marsupial or a piece of jewelry. But just give me a shout out and let me know that you got it so that I know. Feedback is always appreciated. All right. Second little housekeeping thing. This coming Thursday, so this comes out on Sunday. This Thursday, the 22nd of September, is Reckoning with the Primal Wound, the screening of Reckoning with the Primal Wound by Rebecca Autumn Sansom in Long Beach at the Catalina Film Festival.
How exciting.
And I'm going to be there, and there are going to be other people there also within the adoptee community. Very excited about it. I've told my husband he is coming with me. I don't always stand by that. But I don't necessarily think he wants to go with me.
Okay.
Understandably. However, this may be the only way I can get him to watch this film.
I see.
And I really want him to watch it, even though he's heard it all before. But I think it helps people to hear a similar thing from other people and other people's experience.
Sure, I understand that.
Yeah. So I'm going to, and also actually in October, you'll be able to actually purchase. I think for $19.99, you'll be able to actually purchase the film.
Oh, to stream it
to
yourself.
stream it at home and to own it.
Yeah, nice.
Yes,
Nice.
which is fantastic. And I want, as I've said, I want everyone to see this film, which is the quote, the pull quote that Rebecca uses for me in the advertising. Everybody needs to see this film, Julie Dixon Jackson, Cutoff Genes. And I'm like, wow, I probably could have come up with something a little more creative than that.
I liked it. I really liked it.
It gets to the point. Yeah, very good. Yes. Thank you, Sally. So since the Queen died,
yes.
I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, I climbed out from under my rock and someone told me. Yes.
This story came out again, and I think I may have talked about this guy, the Charles and Camilla love child thing. There's a gentleman in Australia who believes that he is the love child of Charles and Camilla.
Okay.
Man claiming to be King Charles and Camilla's secret love child reveals possible DNA breakthrough. There is nothing new in this article. There is nothing new or revealing about this article. It's the same old thing. This gentleman was born in 1966 in England. And truth be told, he does kind of look like a cross between Charles and Camilla. I see it.
Did they know each other then?
Well, no. They reportedly did not meet until 1970. But he believes otherwise. So this guy's grandmother, grandparents or great-grandparents worked in the royal household, in one of the royal households. And he said that on her deathbed, his adoptive grandmother confessed that he was indeed the son of Charles and Camilla. Here's the thing. I mean, there's enough evidence for it to be something to, not even evidence, but for it to be something to explore. However, there is enough known about DNA nowadays that he is trying to get Charles to take a DNA test.
Good luck now. He's king.
Yeah, well, yeah. But that is not going to happen. But the way genetic genealogy works, and he thinks it's Charles and Camilla's son, he can just take an ancestry DNA test.
Right. And somebody related to Camilla.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It is not something, and surely by now, if this was legit, any level, a base level genetic genealogist could have stepped forward and said, let me see, have you taken an ancestry DNA test? Let me look at your results.
Right.
It would be that easy.
Right.
So if that has been done and they're like, yeah, no,